Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video delves into a sensitive and deeply complex topic, using astrology to explore the indicators of unnatural death in a birth chart. Before we begin, I want to make it clear that this birth chart analysis is done with the utmost respect and purely from an astrological perspective. This is not meant to sensationalize or speculate, but rather to explore how certain planetary positions and combinations might correlate with sudden or untimely departures. The type of unnatural death, whether it's due to an accident, suicide, murder, or unknown causes, can often be seen through the interplay of these planets with the moon, Lagna, and their lords. If the 8th house is occupied by malefics, the native dies an unnatural death such as suicide, murder, or accident. If benefics influence the 8th house, death will be natural, that is, through disease or old age. If the 6th and 8th lords are related, death follows ill health. If the 6th house and 8th house in this case are severely afflicted, death comes after prolonged suffering as in the case of a chronic disease. Unnatural deaths are those which occur due to external agents. They may be sudden and unexpected as in the case of accidents by fire, drowning, traffic accidents or suicide or even murder. As I told in my previous video, the 3rd and the 8th house are the houses of life. The 12th houses from these two, namely, the 2nd and the 7th are the houses of death. And death-dealing or maraka planets in birth chart are A. The 2nd and 7th lords cause death. B. The occupants, particularly malefics, of the 2nd and 7th houses. C. The planets, especially malefics, associating with the 2nd and 7th lords. D. Benefic planets in association with the 2nd and 7th lords are less powerful in causing death than malsfic planets. E. Lords of the 3rd and the 8th. F. The lord of the 3rd or 8th house associating with the 2nd or the 7th lord. F. 2nd house lord in 7th house or 7th house lord in 2nd house or association of these two houses. G. Saturn in conjunction, aspect or association with concerning the 8th house. Let us take in one example chart. Date of birth is April 4, 1948. And time is 6 a.m. In this chart ascendant is Pisces. As Mercury is 7th house lord, Mars 2nd house lord and Rahu occupied in 2nd house. These three planets are death-dealing planets from ascendant. Like that Saturn, Moon and Mars are death-dealing planet from Moon sign Capricorn. Here both death-dealing planets Saturn and Mars conjunction is not good for longevity. And the Moon is afflicted by two malefics, Saturn and Mars. Libra, the 8th house, is occupied by Ketu and aspect by 2nd house lord Mars. The 8th lord Venus is in his own sign in the 3rd house and the 8th lord Venus is well placed apparently but occupies the star of the 6th lord Sun. The native died on May 10, 1964 in Rahu period, Saturn sub-period according to Vimshatari Dasa. Rahu occupies the 2nd house and is in a Martian sign. Mars is a death-dealing planet, being 2nd lord from ascendant. And the 7th occupant from the moon with Saturn, the 2nd lord therefrom. Further Rahu is aspect by afflicted Saturn. Rahu occupies star Bharani, ruled by 8th lord. Saturn is in a constellation ruled by 7th lord Mercury and is a death-dealing planet as being conjoined with 2nd lord Mars, and as 2nd lord from the moon in the 7th therefrom. In D9 also, both Rahu and Saturn possess strong death-dealing powers by occupation and rulership. The girl died in a bus accident. The 8th house is aspect by Mars and occupied by Ketu. The major lord is in Aries in a Venus constellation indicating vehicles. As 2nd house indicates face, the face was crushed and death was instantaneous. Before we proceed to the next chart, I have a small request. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider doing so now. I regularly share informative and valuable videos on astrology. Let us take another example. Number 2, date of birth is July 15, 1942, time 2:30 a.m. In this chart, ascendant is Taurus. And 8th house Sagittarius, is a fiery sign, and is aspect by 8th house lord Jupiter along with 2nd house lord Mercury from death-dealing 2nd house. From moon sign Cancer, the 8th house is Aquarius occupied by Ketu and aspect by Mars and 6th house Lord Jupiter and 7th and 8th house Lord Saturn. All the angles are afflicted by malefics. Saturn afflicts ascendant, and Rahu afflicts 4th house. The native's clothes caught fire on December 16, 1964 and death occurred, while Saturn transiting in 8th house from moon sign, where Ketu placed in natal chart. This was in Rahu's sub-period of Ketu period according to Vimshatari Dasha. Rahu occupies a death-dealing 2nd house from the moon and a constellation of Venus, who has ascendant lord. The Dasa lord Ketu is in the 8th from the moon, aspect by Mars and Saturn. Ketu and Mars both are fiery planets and 8th house also fiery sign. And fiery planet Sun Aslo aspecting from 2nd house along with 2nd lord Mercury, hence, death by burns. Rahu placed in star of Venus in 2nd house from moon and Mercury placed in 2nd house from ascendant, indicates death due to clothes caught fire. Normally, a 6th and 8th planetary combination is considered unfavorable. When these planets become activated, it can lead to challenges, whether they appear in the D1 chart or the D9 chart. Life events can be accurately predicted through the progression of houses. In my upcoming videos, I will explain how to determine the period of death by analyzing the progression of houses and stars in both the D1 and D9. Example 3, date of birth May 24, 1906. In this chart, 8th house Taurus is occupied by 2nd and 7th Lord Mars, along with Moon and 6th Lord Jupiter. The 8th Lord Venus is in the 9th house hemmed between Mars and Rahu. From Taurus moon sign, the 8th house is aspect adversely by 7th and 12th house Lord Mars. The 8th house Lord Jupiter conjunct with Mars. Here Mars is strong malefic planet. The native died by drowning in a boat accident in May 1926, in Mars sub-period of Rahu main period. Rahu is in the 10th in watery sign Cancer, whose Lord Moon is a death-dealing planet, being placed with 2nd and 7th Lord Mars. Dasha Lord Rahu placed in star of Mercury, occupied death-dealing 7th house. Here Dasa Lord Rahu and Bhakti Lord Mars are in 6th and 8th combination in D9 chart. Let us take another example. Chart No. 4. Date of birth is February 12, 1809. The 8th Lord Mercury is well placed in the ascendant with the 7th Lord Sunday Saturn and Mars both malefic are aspecting waning moon. From moon sign, the 8th house is aspect by Saturn while the 8th Lord Sun occupies the 2nd house with Mercury. The native was assassinated on April 1865. A combination in Gautama Samhita says that if the Lord of the 8th is in the ascendant and the waning moon is aspect by Mars, death will be due to a weapon. The 8th Lord Mercury is in the ascendant and the waning moon in the 12th house and is aspect by Mars. According to Jataka Tattva and other classical works, when Saturn, Sun and Mars are in the 10th, 7th and 4th respectively, death is by assassination. Here we find Saturn is in the 10th, Mars aspects the 4th and the Sun aspects the 7th. The native was shot to death in Saturn Dasa, Mercury Bhakti. The Dasa Lord Saturn as an occupant of the 10th house causes Mrityu Yoga and becomes a death-dealing planet. Also he is the 2nd Lord from the moon and is aspect by 2nd Lord Jupiter. Mercury, the Bhakti Lord, is in the 2nd from the moon. Example 5, born on October 22, 1953 at 2 a.m. IST. The native died on April 4, 1972, after consuming poison. The 8th house is aspect by Mars placed in 2nd house who is also in the 7th from the moon and 8th Lord Jupiter occupied in Mars star. Malefics are present in the 8th from the moon as well. The moon, ruler of the mind, is in a trick house aspect by malefic Mars and debilitated Venus. 5th house indicates intellect, here 5th house afflicted by aspects from malefic Saturn, Mars and 8th house Jupiter. So, it indicates weak intellect and mind. The native died in Ketu period. Ketu occupies the 12th house and Ketu aspect by Saturn from 8th house from the moon. The moon, his sign dispositor, is in the 8th house from moon. Rahu and Ketu influence to 2nd house and moon, creates suicide tendencies through consuming poison, because 2nd house indicates consuming, in this chart Rahu aspects second house and combined moon in D9 chart and Ketu aspects moon. Example 5. Born on October 17, 1866 and time is 2:30 p.m. IST. In this chart, Virgo is the 8th house occupied by Rahu and aspect by 2nd Lord Jupiter from 12th house. 6th Lord Moon aspect by Rahu. Ketu placed in 2nd house, both 2nd house and Moon afflicted. The intellect house 5th is afflicted due to Mars placement in enemy house and 5th Lord being 8th Lord also afflicted due to combination of Sun-Saturn. So, weak 5th house and Moon also indicate suicide tendency. The Moon is afflicted by malefic Rahu and Mars, the 8th house Lord Mercury combined with 7th house Sun in 9th house along with 12th and ascendant Lord Saturn. The native committed suicide on July 1922 by consuming poison. This was in Rahu Bhakti, Saturn Dasa. Rahu is in the 8th from the ascendant. Saturn is a first-rate death-dealing planet. As he is with 7th Lord and in D9 chart occupies the 2nd house from the Moon, and owns the 7th houses from